Hello and welcome to the Craic and Banter podcast with me, Reese, and my co-host Luke Mackay. Luke Mackay, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you for having me on the Craic and Banter podcast.
Of course, happy to have you on, my special guest. This is our third episode. We've been having a lot of fun so far, and yeah, I'm happy to be back.
Yeah, it's been smooth like a summer breeze. Makes me feel fine.
That is exactly what it's been like so far. We've been having a lot of fun, and yeah, we've had a couple of weeks talking about our most anticipated movies, and this week we're sort of moving on to some more relaxed topics. We've got some cool ideas for stuff to come up, so we're excited to get back into it. How have you been, Luke?
I've been well. I had a fair bit of university work to do this week, so that was quite stressful. Well, I always say stressful. I feel like there needs to be like a reworking of the word stressful, maybe like a different word we can use, because I always feel like when I say stressful, people think like I was struggling or whatever, whereas usually when I say stressful, I just mean it was quite an intense workload.
Yes. No, I know what you mean.
Yeah, do you know? Yeah, so you never want to tell people that it was stressful or whatever, because then they get concerned.
Yes.
What I just mean is it was quite hard work.
Yeah, stressful always implies that it gives you a great deal of stress, which I suppose it does to a certain degree, but there needs to be a word for like fleeting stress, that stress that it's only present while it's happening and then it's gone.
Yeah.
Um,
like I was able to get to bed on time and had plenty of sleep and everything.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Our
It's only
listeners don't need to be just so concerned.
Yeah. You can rest easy knowing that Luke is perfectly fine.
I should use listeners plural. That's very cocky. Maybe just
listen,
listeners.
any more than one is plural. So, I listen back to edit the podcast. Our mums listen sometimes. So, we've got easily more than one listener.
Yeah, I do have to confess to our listeners with the S in brackets. I don't actually listen back to the podcast because I don't like the sound of my own voice on recordings. So I have to apologize that we're not in solidarity that way. I don't have to suffer through me talking for an hour, you do.
That's okay. I reckon there's a lot more people like that than you think. I mean, especially actors. There's so many actors that I've learned recently will like never watch themselves back, or they'll maybe watch back the scene after it's recorded, but they won't watch the actual movie or anything like that.
Yeah. Adam Driver doesn't watch his films.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking of that.
Idiot.
I know that's such a shame though, especially like he's been in so many great movies though too, that it's like that's so unfortunate that he wouldn't get to see some great movies.
To be fair, even if he watched all the other scenes, he'd be losing the best bits of any of those three movies.
Yeah.
I still think the sequel trilogies. I'm never going to like Episode 8. That's not up for debate. But I still think the sequel trilogy, 10 years, might be looked back. In the same sort of font because
I could imagine that happening. I mean, it has so many great bits in it that it would be hard to look back and not enjoy any of it. That's when you sort of find all of the best moments.
Yeah, a trilogy is a pass for all of the bad bits.
Yeah,
like the one that in years people forget about alien titty milk, but I don't actually think it's possible to forget that. But I think people dialogue the sort of some of the characters and Jar Jar Binks. I feel like maybe intent people might the Ren story
stand out from that trilogy. Negative parts, the first things I think of are all the bits that I liked. It doesn't leave a bad taste in my mouth necessarily. So I think that just depending on how big a fan you are, sort of it'll take different people longer depending on which ones you liked and which ones you didn't.
The only thing that probably works against their favor is the prequel trilogies started weak and finished strong.
The fact that we're still going to keep getting Star Wars for a long time now, I'm not sure it work against it as well. Like the prequels, we had a lot of time to sit on them and be, it's easy to fault them whenever we were still getting Star Wars. Whenever you go for a little while and you're not next one,
I mean, as well, I think you have to factor in post 2005. For years, the only Star Wars we got was Star Wars: The Clone Wars, which was taking the characters from the prequel trilogy and giving them better storylines, better writing, making it a bit more mature.
Yeah.
I feel like there's already been a conscious decision to mostly just abandon the sequel trilogy's characters. I don't think there's going to be anything like that to try and save some face for them. I mean, of the Disney stuff, I mean, the only ones so far that seem to be getting retained are, as I think we discussed it in the TV previews, Cassian Andor stuff, because I mean, Rogue One was by far and away the best received movie critically.
Yeah.
Of Disney movies, I think they are just cutting their losses now with the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, I think that is true. I mean, even if you look at sort of the series that we're getting that Cassian Andor series, but everything else is either about characters from the original series and the prequels, or set at a time where those are the sort of characters they might bring back. They're opening up The Mandalorian to bring back characters from the original series that we haven't seen, and they've got the Obi-Wan series to bring back prequel characters, and same with the Boba Fett series. I think that could be revisiting lots of places and characters from older movies. I think it's unlikely that we're going to get a lot of seeing, John Boyega and stuff again, which I think is a shame for a lot of those characters, because there's so many characters in the prequel or the sequels that I actually really like and are very interesting. I think they're some of the most interesting characters that we've got, but it was the execution of the movies themselves that I think was poor.
Yeah, I think if I was going to pick one character to give a standalone series, I'd probably pick Poe Dameron. I actually thought first movie after the whole Han Solo Kylo Ren storyline, the best part of the episode 7 was Poe and Finn's bromance.
Yeah, I think I was gonna say, if we're picking movies to see from the sequel trilogy, I think better than a Poe Dameron series, give us a Poe and Finn series. Bring those two together again.
Yeah, and then they took that, which is probably one of the best things about episode 7, and instead threw Finn in with the Rose. And I would like to point out, I'm not having a go at the actress who played Rose, because she's already had enough of a bad time from some, quite frankly, rabid nerds on the internet. I think she was given a quite frankly awful script to work with, so I'm not having a go at her. But that storyline was awful.
Yeah, I didn't love that, and I think it was made even worse that then in episode 9 they were like, okay, we'll just not use her at all this in this movie. Then that was just no redemption even for that character at all. It was like, you were bad in the last one, so we're just not going to let you do anything in this one.
Yeah, that I remember that exact. There was an exact line that was just made me cringe physically. I think there's like, they asked her, "We're going to do this and this. Are you coming?" And she was like, "No, I better stay and monitor the reports or something."
Yeah.
That like had serious. Pucci died on his trip back to his home planet vibes.
Yeah, that is truly just horrible. Just incredibly awful writing. Even if you were to write someone out, which I don't think they should have done, but even just give it a second more thought than that. That may as well have been improvised. They may as well have said, "Oh, you have to stay here for some reason. Just make it up on the spot. Action." That's what I would come up with if you had to say, "Give me a reason that Rose has to stay on planet." I'd be like, "Oh, she has to monitor the reports." Just pick some Star Warsy words. And
it would have been. It kind of, maybe the only thing I maybe thought is maybe it was just setting up for something later on the movie, but didn't they genuinely just like completely cut her character out of
yeah, because it does cut back to the base with Leia and everything. That is an aspect of this story, and Rose doesn't do anything at any of those points either. It was like, it was just so lazy a way to get rid of her.
Yeah.
Anyway, Star Wars nerds, if you're listening, we won't read your emails. So
Yeah.
get angry if you want, but we don't care.
I mean, they love getting angry. The only reason they would still be listening is just to get angry, because I think I've pretty much had a go at them in every single episode.
And you know what? We love the extra listen. So
Yeah. You're
do
here.
what you like, Star Wars nerds.
Oh, boo-hoo. They didn't make your fan theory of Jar Jar Binks being a Sith Lord real. Oh, life must be so horrible.
There is no life more horrible than that of a Star Wars nerd. Truly, just hating that which you love so much. A darker journey has never been traveled.
I would like to point out before someone else accuses us of bullying them, we are Star Wars nerds, but with a small N. We're talking about Star Wars nerds with a big N.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Capital Nerd. Like, anyway, Star Wars chat aside, we have some new segments this week to give our podcast a little bit of structure. After last week, we had quite chunky topics, so this week we're going to kind of divide it up a little bit. We're going to start off. We have some news of the week. Nothing too morbid. I'm keeping it light, just talking about some entertainment news, and no real news. No real news on this podcast.
Yeah, I love the fact you have to specify not real news. Like, there's someone just thinking, well, I could watch traditional mainstream media, or I could wait and get the real inside scoop from an obscure niche podcast that releases once a week.
Yeah. People are clamoring to hear our views on Brexit. Look, but we're keeping that information to ourselves. We like to talk about Star Wars. But yes, we have
issue.
The real issues, exactly. You could argue that this is the real news, the realest news of all. But first off, we have a couple of trailers released this week. Because I don't know if you've even watched this, we have the Raya and the Last Dragon trailer. We talked about this in our movies of 2021, but we got a trailer this week. Did you watch it?
Which one was it?
It's the new Disney animated movie.
Is it the one that looks like How to Train Your Dragon? Because I saw a trailer for that on the TV.
Yes, it's sort of How to Train Your Dragon meets Avatar: The Last Airbender, basically, is sort of what it looks like. It's 4 different tribes or colonies or communities, each with a different, not power, but different aspect of the world that they're connected to. And she is on a quest to find the last dragon so that she can bring the whole, all the groups of people together. So it's Avatar, but with dragons. It looks cool. I mean, I don't think that story is the most engaging thing ever, just because Avatar already did it like in the coolest way. So, but it looks cool enough. I'm not passing any judgment. Only thing I'm a bit unsure about, it's scheduled to come out 4th of March. It's meant to come out both theatrically and on Disney Plus, but they're doing the same thing they did with Mulan on Disney Plus, where you pay the extra premium to be able to watch it, and I am not a fan of that.
Because I mean, what are you paying for the streaming service for then? Like, I mean,
exactly.
Netflix put their original movies behind a pay barrier.
Yeah. I mean, I understand releasing theatrically and then waiting a little while before releasing on Disney Plus, but at the same time, this just it feels, especially like this year, whenever there's going to be so few people seeing movies theatrically, I can't see this going well. I mean, it didn't work for Mulan, but I feel like they may not have lost money on that, but certainly didn't get the release they would have got had it opened theatrically, So
yeah,
I can't see people going in for this again.
Yeah, I mean, their plan with Milan, I think, was to market that big in China. I mean, obviously, I think China are reporting lower coronavirus numbers, so I don't know whether their theaters were open at that time. I guess not. I think they've kept their restrictions mostly throughout. So, I mean, they're probably they were probably targeting something $1 billion plus in terms of worldwide gross. So I mean, there's no way they've made what they wanted on that movie.
Yeah, so I don't know about that, but we'll see closer to the time. If cinemas are open again and it seems relatively safe, I would definitely see it. But then again, we'll just see when we get there because, of course, who knows what anything is going to happen in the next little while.
Yeah.
However, similarly, also releasing theatrically and on HBO Max, we have Godzilla vs Kong. This was the big trailer of the week. Did you watch this?
Do you know what? I didn't feel like I needed to. I feel like I got enough from the memes.
That is true. What are your thoughts?
I really, really, really want King Kong to win. Just, I mean, the summary of it. Who would win? Big, massive lizard who shoots nuclear rays, or monkey?
Yes, but King Kong has that axe. He's got that cool axe. He's a bigger boy now. I don't know. My money's on Kong.
I feel like my theory is that Kong's going to be about to kill Godzilla in the biggest upset in movie history, and then they'll find out his mum had the same name as Godzilla's lizard mum.
Yes,
and
yes.
Fight against Mothra.
Yeah, and then no, Mothra will come in, and then Godzilla will turn to King Kong, and he'll say, "Is she with you?" And then Godzilla will say, "I thought she was with you." This is ingenious writing. Somebody write this down.
No, well, this Zack Snyder's the lookup in a few years.
Oh, no. But yeah, I think it looks interesting enough. I think it did say there reportedly, I can't remember if it was the director or one of the writers who said this, but they said that there will be a definitive winner. I doubt it. I highly doubt that either of them are gonna die, just because listen, they're gonna team up at the end and fight something else. They are. That's guaranteed. There's some theories that it looked like there was a clip from the trailer. It might be Mechagodzilla. Some people have theorized. We'll see. That could have just been something else in the trailer. I don't know. There's rampant theories, as there always are with these trailers.
I think the one thing you can guarantee is that it won't just be those two. There will be a third party, whether it's, as they say, Mechagodzilla, or if it's Mothra or Mecha Barbara Streisand. There will be someone else, but it's like wrestling. You know, these are in the universe of Kenji or whatever it's called. There is a proper. Is it? No, it's not Kenji. Kenji's like the name.
It's Kaiju. Kaiju.
Kaiju. That's it. That's the one. It's just like wrestling. You know, those are the two biggest draws. You can't book one to go over the other one completely clean. If one wins, it's because of shenanigans. It'll most likely they end in a draw.
Yeah, I think this. I mean, this is my guess, and sort of just based on the different things we saw in the trailer. But I think that first fight on the sort of big sort of battleship type thing, that looks like the first time they interact. I reckon Godzilla will maybe beat King Kong at that point, or sort of at the very least injure him, and then the later battle, whenever Kong has his big axe, I think Kong's going to come back and he's going to win that one. That's my theory. That's my bet. If you're listening, hold me to that, and we'll see when we come back after we watch it. We'll see if I was right, and if I'm right, I don't know, I win something. What's the bet, Luke?
If you win the bet, I'll guess I'll write a song about Godzilla or something and perform it on the podcast. I don't get force in this bet, but if you want me to do something, I will.
Well, I was going to say, and then if I'm wrong, I'll have to do whatever the punishment is. Was more what I was getting at.
Oh,
so yes. Is that the punishment? So if I'm right, you have to write a song about Godzilla, and why he's the king of the monsters. And if I'm wrong, then I have to write a song
Yes.
Is mine also about Godzilla, or do I have to write it about King Kong?
Well, I said Godzilla. Well, no, actually, see, I reckon we'll go with you. Yours has to be about King Kong because I mean, I think I want King Kong to win more. I don't know who you want, but I think you feel like Godzilla at the moment is more powerful than King Kong. So if
Yeah, my bet is still that Kong's going to win, but that's because he's the underdog. I think he is. I think he's going to come out on top. I think
yeah,
also he actually. Oh, new theory that's just come into my head. In this universe, he's never actually called King Kong. He's always referred to as Kong. He was in like the Kong movie and in this trailer. But Godzilla was king of the monsters, and then in that movie, there's also King Ghidorah, who is called king because he defeats Godzilla. So maybe this is my new theory: Kong is going to defeat Godzilla, and that's how he then gains the name King Kong because he's the new king of the monsters after he defeats Godzilla, the current king of the monsters. That's my theory. Have I blown your mind?
I think it's got legs. But I thought in the
Yeah.
original King King Kong movie, he was King Kong on when he was still on Skull Island.
In the old King Kong movie, he was always called King Kong, but in Kong Skull Island, he's only referred to as Kong. As far as I remember, if I'm wrong, sorry, but that's
I
I,
always
I
think
think he's always called Kong.
I always think these kaiju movies have surprisingly deep backstories for what essentially used to just be a man in a lizard costume stomping around like a mini scale Tokyo and kicking it over.
Yeah, I hope that that's what the next movie is. Whatever the next movie is in this series, I beg that that's all it is. I'd like real bad suit as well, not really modern cool looking animatronics and realistic puppetry. Just a man in his like you can borderline see the face poking out behind the mouth of the Godzilla. Hey everyone, Reese here, just letting you know that we sadly had some technical issues recording today. We tried a different recording setup and it did not work at all. So we lost a big chunk of the episode, unfortunately, where we started our topic. We were discussing movies that are very similarly titled, very similar in plot, or that came out around the same time and that are regarded as being extremely similar movies. So that was our topic for this week. You very unfortunately missed a big section where we discussed the similarities between the movies Megamind and Despicable Me. So unfortunate that you missed that. However, we'll be back next week, bigger and better, and please enjoy the rest of the podcast.
So that's when I said to Johnny Carson, I'm not going to come on the show for less than $3,000. What do you think I am, Joan Crawford?
Look, oh, I'm so glad that's our in. Listen, if I don't edit around this is how we got back in after the recording stopped. Look, just wanted this to be our introduction. So you've not missed anything. Nothing weird happened with your audio. Look, just decided that would be how we should start back into the podcast.
Yes, we had some technical issues.
As
Funny we
per.
should. Quite ironic that started happening when I went on a tangent about feeling left behind by modern culture.
That is truly ironic.
And I had to find some sort of way to organically insert some of the absolute pearls of wisdom that unfortunately were cut out of the recording.
Yes, well that's a good in back to it, that we are slightly faulty and unaware of how to use technology quite as well as the young kids, what with their TikTok and talking the tick.
And
Stole your joke. Look, I stole your joke. How do you feel?
Listen, I can write it off my taxes because that was a charitable donation. Goodness knows you need it.
Look, made that joke before the recording stopped, and I thought I would steal it before we could get in.
Yeah. I have to say, as the kids on Visco say, that joke made me
Look, you gotta stop. People hate this. People hate this. We are listening.
I've got to be so good embarrassing my children when I'm older.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
but like, embarrassing though in like the funny way, not in like the you're old and you turned and cunt and you peed yourself. That's just embarrassing, not like
Yeah,
funny.
no. Not hurtful,
Well,
embarrassing. Embarrassing that is enjoyable, you know? High School Musical 1, 2, and 3, incredibly similar plot. I'll give you a brief plot synopsis of all three movies. Boy/girl likes to sing and perform. The
okay.
people around them don't accept that they want to be different. They don't know how to be different. And then at the end, they do be different and it's fine until the next movie comes around and then it's not fine again. And they do the rinse repeat. I'm saying this. I absolutely love the High School Musical movies like so much. We watched them all maybe 2 weeks ago. Me and my siblings. I think these movies are so good. They're so like not good in terms of well made. They are incredibly poorly made. But they obviously I have a lot of nostalgia for them. But I think the music is genuinely good. The characters are all decent. The acting isn't miserably bad by any means. And I think that like it makes you it is very feel good, you know. And I think especially like if you are around that high school age or just have left high school as we have, it does have a certain relatability to it, or at least like fondness of looking back at your time in high school, especially obviously if you enjoyed your time at high school, which we did. And we did, musicals and shows and choir in school. So there is a big relatability there that I think it does make me happy to watch.
I mean, if we're talking about relatability through the lens of our musicals, then I would very strongly relate to the song "I Don't Dance."
The problem is, look, both people who sing that song are both very good dancers, as
That
are
song
you.
goes
Don't get
off.
me
I
wrong.
mean, I think. I mean, that's got to be the most criminally underappreciated song, and the whole series. I mean, people always talk about, obviously for good reason. They talk about Breaking Free, Wildcats. I think that's what that song's called, Summertime. The one where Zac Efron's on like the golf course or something.
Yes, Bet on It. That song's called. I just love
Yes.
that song from the Vine. That Vine that it's like the kid looking in the pool, and then he like does the bit from that song. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think they're brilliant. I mean, I think I Don't Dance should be right up there with it. Like it just goes off. Absolute banger.
Agreed. No, but for an actual overview of what the three movies are, because they are different in setting, it's more just the overarching plot that's similar. High School Musical 1, it's Troy and Gabriella. They both want to sing. Deep down, they both want to sing. They discover they love it, but they can't break the status quo. That's another one of the songs. Troy is a basketball player. He's the MVP of the team. He's the coach's son. Gabriella, she's a smart kid. She's just started at the school, and she sort of again has to stick with the smart kids. Nobody's allowed to interact and mingle, but then at the end they learn that you should be who you are and express yourself, and that's cool. Then High School Musical 2, we ignore that as we go to their summer break, as they work in a Lava Springs, I think it's called. It's sort of a spa resort. And again, there Troy wants to work on his future and work on himself, but his friends don't want him to change. They want him to stay as he was. And then again, through sort of learning that he shouldn't change, but he should allow himself to change without sacrificing his friendships. That's sort of the big lesson in that one. But again, similar in terms of that he wants to do something else and his friends are telling him that he shouldn't change. And then High School Musical 3 is their senior year. It's them starting to leave school. And again, Troy is faced with the dilemma of whether he wants to pursue basketball or singing or acting. I'm not sure exactly what it is. And that's his dilemma because, again, despite the fact that everybody now is on the same page, they just again aren't, and he can't change because he doesn't want to let down his friends and his family who think he should act a certain way. So you can see the through lines there of the movies.
It's very angsty.
It's very angsty when you look at it objectively, when it's not like in the watching the actual performances. The plot alone is extremely angsty.
Yeah, I do appreciate how it really does highlight the differences between how we depict secondary school in the UK compared to how it's depicted in America. Like America, big dance numbers, emotional, handsome and pretty people, whereas the touchstone as to how secondary school in the UK is depicted. The best episode of it is literally about one of them drinking too much caffeine and shitting themselves in the middle of an exam.
Yeah, I was gonna say our big UK touchstone for, if you wanted to describe to an American what secondary school is like in the UK, I would say to watch The Inbetweeners, and I would also say, and I am not joking, like watch it, and that is bar like the fact that insane stuff happens to them very regularly. Apart from that, it is a perfect representation. Not a good representation. It doesn't paint us in a positive light at all, but it is accurate to every degree.
I think it's like, it's how they interact with each other. Like, the reality is, when we were in school, we were nice to each other. I mean, not in a. I realize how oxymoronic this sentence is. I'm just going to say we weren't nice to each other, but not in a mean way. What I just mean is, like, it's not like pure, oh, you're beautiful and handsome and you've got this. Like Americans are like High School Musical. It's like, you're stupid dickhead.
Yeah.
You're still
like American High School, if it was like, oh, I can't go out and play the big basketball game, I'm no good, as you say, they would be around, no, come on, man, you got this, you're the best player in the team. Whereas here, if it was like, I'm not going to play rugby on Saturday, I'm just not good enough, it would be you'd either get told, true, you're not that good, just bench it, or if you were good, they'd say, wise up, get on the pitch. There's very little
player you're soft.
Player you're soft. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, if there's one thing we know, it's that I am not soft. Little inside joke, but whatever.
Well, I wonder if you could do the opposite. It's just like, open up about your feelings and discuss your emotional vulnerabilities with a trained professional, or you're soft.
Oh, that's a good idea. Look, reverse psychology. That's a good way to start getting people to open up.
Get men talking by bullying them into talking.
Oh no.
Unironically, it might be the only thing.
It might work, yeah. It may just. It's crazy, but it's maybe just what we need. Now, of the High School Musical movies, I have to pick a favorite, and this is really tricky because I think they're all great for one, but also I think they are all very much have their merits. So I don't know if I have a rough idea, but what do you think, Luke? Do you have a favorite?
Well, I was going to say maybe we can pick our favorite movie each, but I think what would maybe be slightly more important is, since it's treated as a whole, is pick your 3 favorite songs after that. So I'd say
that is a good idea.
Is a High School Musical 2. I think it's slightly controversial because I know a lot of people pick High School Musical 1, but I think just follow up the original High School Musical with something that, in my opinion, is probably better. It's just impressive. Like,
yeah, that's my go-to favorite. I think would be High School Musical 2 as well. I also think for the purposes of this topic, I think it's probably the most different of the 3 as well, just because it's more about conflicts in friendship rather than breaking away at individuality. And I do really like, actually, some of the moments in that feel very real, and for like a Disney Channel movie that is very unrealistic. It's about, this group of high schoolers who dance and sing every 2 minutes. Some of the friendships do feel quite real in the ways they fall out, but of course make up in the end. And it's that thing of, him, Troy and Chad, they're best friends, and it's like we have a big falling out here, but of course we're still friends at the end. That was never in question.
Yeah.
I think that's a very realistic sort of way to look at a lot of friendships. So I think High School Musical 2 wins it for me.
Yeah.
Now, top 3 songs across the whole series, or are you picking one from each? How do you think?
Just top 3 across the series.
Okay.
We don't need to go in that deep.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if this is in order, but my 3 favorites, I think, Work This Out from High School Musical 2. That's the one where they dance in the kitchen. I love that. I also love the dance routine to that. I think is really cool. I think I have to give it to Breaking Free from High School Musical 1. I mean, how can you not say that? And High School Musical 3, I actually do have one from each movie. Can I Have This Dance from High School Musical 3, the slow dance song that Troy and Gabriella sing. I think that song is genuinely incredibly romantic. I think it's a beautiful love song. And I think it doesn't feel necessarily like it's from High School Musical. Like you could pick it out as like a wedding slow dance song, and you wouldn't like bat an eye if you didn't know it was from High School Musical. It wouldn't sound weird and out of place,
Yeah.
So I really like that one.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think I'll just go in no particular order. I think, well, obviously, I hyped up so much of Got to Include It. I really like that. I don't dance, and
Yeah,
I would caveat that with you have to watch the video. You can't just listen to
yes, definitely.
choreography that Hunter presents. You will not see a single more camp depiction of a game of sports in any movie than how that scene depicts baseball. It is.
I love it.
Then I think just Got to Include It is the king of High School Music, or the queen of. That's sorry, that just reminds me of James A. Castor joke about
he or she. Yeah.
Of people who remember too late that they need to go include both gender. Include both sexes, not gender.
Only ever said by men.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great joke.
And yes, I have to include Breaking Free is just its peak, as I said, the king or queen of High School Musical songs. It's just epic, and I think the last of my top 3 is We're All in This Together. Absolutely, completely and utterly cheesy, but I would be lying if I said when I hear it I don't get a bit emotional. It's just one of those songs that's like it just reminds you of a very happy time of being a kid.
Definitely, yeah. I think it is. I think High School Musical, it hits 2 points of nostalgia, I think, for me, because obviously it came out when I was much younger. So I think it's 2006, 2000, around about that, the first one came out. So I would have watched it maybe a year or two after that when I started watching them all. I think they all came out only a year or two apart. So it's around about that time. I could be wrong, but that's a rough guess. So obviously watched it when I was very young. So that's one area of nostalgia already. But then combine that with then it also hits a lot of those points of being in high school. As I said, for us, obviously it's not a realistic depiction, but it still feels very nostalgic, and it makes you miss all of those great moments of high school of like doing the musicals, or sort of going to school and you have to see your friends all day. Not that you don't want to, not that you wouldn't want to, but it's that thing. I think maybe it's hits even harder now during a lockdown, that you don't realize how lucky you were that like you actually were forced to go into school every day and see your friends for 6 or 7 hours and just spend every day seeing like your closest friends. It does make you nostalgic.
That title's ambiguous. Sort of just hitting on your point. That title's ambiguous depending on the tone you say, and you can either say, "We're all in this together," like as a really happy camaraderie thing, or you can say it's, "Oh, we're all in this together."
We're all in this together. Yeah,
Oh,
that is
the
very
march
true.
to the dance. So I would sort of, in terms of music, it popped into my head. I'd like to give an honourable mention just because I think under the rules you couldn't really include it in the top three. I've
Yeah.
not watched the actual musical TV series, but I have heard this
Mm.
one song for it that slaps, absolutely slaps. I think I can't remember what it's called, which I know is not much use for a podcast, but I actually think the singer of it is Olivia Rodrigo, who's
Yes,
the one who's
who's there? Her new song, "Driver's License,"
yeah,
has absolutely blown up. I know because I'd only discovered that recently. Because it was you who told me about the High School Musical, the series song, and I went and listened to it, and then
yeah.
recently went to listen to it again and discovered that they were the same person. So
Yeah.
I like to think we had a little bit of insight before she blew up, you know. But that song is amazing. I forget what it's called as well, so apologies. I'll
I
put
can
it in
quickly
the
Google it.
description.
I'll Google it quickly. Hang on.
Oh, perfect. Even better.
Really,
But yeah.
you can tell we do our research for these.
Oh yeah. Listen, I've got a
all I
page
want.
with yes, all I want. Excellent.
I got halfway there. I was thinking, was it called All I Ever Wanted? And then was like, no, that's the Billie Eilish song. That's
Oh,
All I
okay.
Want. Well worth checking. I think it's probably even better than Driver's License. So yes, Armageddon versus Deep Impact. These literally the exact same plot. A group of
Yeah.
astronauts go up into space to destroy an asteroid. One survived because it had Bruce Willis in an Aerosmith song. It's the real difference maker. I mean, the only reason Deep Impact is remembered is for being the same movie as Armageddon. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it would feed it into complete obscurity.
Definitely. I think that those are both of them are one of those movies where you could literally swap those scene for scene and you would think, are they not the same movie, you know? Or it's very much like one is the alternate universe version of the same movie, you know? It just in some other universe there was just one slight difference and Deep Impact came out instead of Armageddon or vice versa,
Yeah.
but for whatever reason we got them both.
It sort of feels like if you wanted to talk about Armageddon in the TV series, but you didn't want to say it by name for
yes, yeah.
right reasons or whatever, so you come up with this movie called Deep Impact.
Yeah, and it's got a different song by a rock band called "I Would Like to Not Miss Everything."
This is like Motley Crue provide the soundtrack, and Vin Diesel stars as
Yeah,
scientist.
exactly. Yeah, it does feel like that, the copyright free version. But yeah, that is probably the most famous example of this sort of thing.
Yeah. So talking about how long do you think before Fast and Furious is in space? It's only a matter of time, surely.
Yeah, honestly, I'm surprised it
logical
hasn't
progression.
happened already. It feels like it should have happened by now. So I don't know. It can't be long. I mean, especially after what Hobbs and Shaw, which I didn't watch, but it had like effectively a super soldier in it, which that to me is like that was the big leap they needed from as much as Fast and Furious got gradually more and more extreme. That feels like the leap that's like, okay, now we can do whatever we want. Now we've got superheroes and nanotech or whatever in it, we can do anything. So I feel like space has got to be the next one.
It's kind of your issue, I suppose, when you make a movie series which is literally based on escalating the extreme in every single entry.
Yeah.
You have to go into space eventually.
There's no way around it.
Or Mexico.
Or Mexico. A similar venture into the unknown.
Sepia filter.
But yes, that concludes our topic for this week of aren't they the same movie? I think we came to some good conclusions there between
Yeah.
our two sets of movies. And yeah, we have another little segment. This is our segment called Have You Seen This? Where we talk about what we've been watching or doing movies and TV shows throughout the last sort of week or so, what we've watched, and we have a little chat about them. So, look, have you seen this is a niche little TV show? I believe I'm pronouncing this right. WandaVision, I think it's called. Have you seen this? Look.
I have not, because I'm a cheap bastard who still has not paid for Disney Plus.
Of course, of course. Well, I'll avoid spoilers also because the season hasn't ended yet. I've watched the first 4 episodes of WandaVision, and boy oh boy, it's so good. Episode 4, it really, really ramps up. We get some big reveals. We're certainly getting into some of the action now. For anybody who's watching and listening to this, who's sort of been watching and keeping up to date, you'll know what I'm talking about. I think it's a great series. I really liked the first few episodes and how there was that element of mystery. But I'm really happy to sort of be getting some answers now. You know, they set up a lot of things, a lot of mysteries that needed solved, and we're starting to get to the bottom of some of them. So it's a great series, look, and I'm sure you'll watch it eventually.
When did she go to the optician?
When does she go to the optician? Oh,
To test her
no.
vision.
Yeah. I got that joke before you had to say the punchline, look, and I can't believe it. Truly awful.
So, what sort of person would you recommend this series to? So, like, people who are fans of which show, or would you say everyone should watch it?
Well, I would say undoubtedly if you are a fan of the MCU, especially if you've watched the rest of the movies, I think you have to be pretty up to date with it. I think sort of post Endgame, everything's been like that. If you want to keep watching, you have to keep up to date. But if you've watched the other MCU stuff, or maybe you've watched the movies, and if you were unsure as to whether or not you had to watch the TV shows, you absolutely have to watch this. One, just as a recommendation because it's great. Also because it's, whether they reference it in future movies or not, it's still worth watching to just understand more about the universe, because there's some pretty big things that I feel like could be quite eventful in the series. So absolutely, if you're an MCU fan, watch this. Beyond that, what sort of fans should watch it? I think if you enjoyed Legion, it's pretty similar to that sort of mystery, and also that slight kind of uneasiness, of just not scratching those itches and making you feel a little bit on edge, so not in like a thrillery way. It's not, it doesn't drive anxiety or anything, but it really does leave you questioning a lot about the series. So if you're a fan of any of that sort of stuff, Legion is the most similar thing I can think of. I suppose to a certain degree Black Mirror, but like dialed down to, about 0.5 of what it usually is at. But in terms of that, just slight weirdness, slight uncanny valley, I guess, of just making you feel like, oh, there's something weird here going on. If you like any of those sorts of shows, it's definitely a must.
Do you know, sort of from what I got from the trailers, I thought, not really similar in terms of like the genre per se, but I sort of thought in terms of tone and thematics, it was kind of I got a few X-Files vibes, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, bit of Twin Peaks.
Yeah, I would say that's a good shout. I think it's hard to tell because the tone obviously changes. There's like a theme, an underlying tone, obviously, but as the setting changes from episode to episode, as they go through these different time periods and things, the tone does shift a lot. So it's an interesting one. I would say it's actually dissimilar to a lot of television. It's a very original idea. Obviously very similar to television from the 60s, but in terms of for a recent thing, it's quite unique.
Yeah, I really like the sort of just something a bit different. Because I mean, as don't get me wrong, as much as I love the MCU, a lot of the films are they have similar tones. It's not that they're derivative of each other. It's more like they're songs from the same hymn book, if you know what I mean.
Yes, yes. No, I agree. And I think Marvel or Disney, I think they're definitely aware of the fact that they can't really do that anymore. They can't rely on the standard origin movie, every single time. So I think they are very aware of that, and I think we're going to see some tonal shifts and hopefully some new visions and stuff. Oh,
Yeah.
there's another joke, accidental joke, some new visions. But yeah, I'm excited. If this sets a precedent for how the rest of the MCU is going to go from now on, I'm definitely happy for this to be the way it goes. Not the same tone as WandaVision, but in terms of some different things, it's a good sign for what's to come, I think. Look, what have you seen this week?
Well, have you seen Narcos or Narcos Mexico?
I have not seen Narcos or Narcos Mexico.
Well, let me tell you all about it then. Narcos, the first series in the Narcos, I think Netflix called the Narcos collection. Narcos is about the DEA's efforts. That's the Drug Enforcement Administration, basically the anti-drug police in America.
Yeah.
Their efforts to bring down the Medellin cartel in Colombia, which was run by Pablo Escobar, who, and at its peak, he was the sixth, or he was either the sixth or seventh richest man in the world. He was a billionaire. And then Narcos Mexico is set in the 80s, and it is about the DEA's efforts. Sorry, there's two sentences start. It's quite similar. The DEA's efforts. The DEA's efforts. That's it for your essays. Don't start your essays with each paragraph with the same sentence every time. It sounds very repetitive. But the Drug Enforcement Administration's efforts. No, there we go. Efforts again. The Drug Enforcement Administration's attempts to bring down the original Mexican cartel run by Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo.
Okay.
Pretty similar, just more of the same stuff, basically.
Yeah.
But is so good. It sort of ticks a lot of boxes for me. I'm quite into sort of like biopics and stuff, dramatized depictions of historical events, and no, it's just good TV. Sometimes it feels like you could maybe try and dissect something and see what's inside it and try and explain it that way, but I feel like it's like looking at a tiger. You don't have to explain why a tiger's cool. You just look at it.
It just is.
It works.
Definitely.
But yeah, no. I mean, if I had to just pick out some things, I mean, the actor who plays Pablo Escobar gives one of the best performances I've ever seen. I mean, you have to contextualize this. Pablo Escobar is a bastard. He was responsible for the deaths of a lot of people. He ran the biggest drug empire in the world. And at no point does the show depict him as a good person. But, and this is the sign of a great performance of someone playing a villain, you are always able to sympathize with them. So, I mean, and podcast favorite, Pedro Pascal, got it there. Pedro Pascal is in the original 3 Narcos series as DEA agent Javier Pena. And he is, as you would expect, magnificent, and he has a mustache. something for
A
the
glorious mustache. I have
gentleman.
actually seen Pedro Pascal's mustache from Narcos, and it is a wonderful mustache.
Yeah. As a, that's how you notice the show's set in the late 80s, early
Yeah.
90s. Everyone has a mustache.
Excellent. Well, that's about all I've really seen this week. Oh, I did also watch. Look, have you seen Disenchantment?
I haven't got around to it yet. I basically watch TV once a day, really. So sort of usually just stick it on for an hour before I go to bed. Through things very slowly. It's just one episode. I
think it maybe suffers from setting. It's constantly setting up what's going to happen next, but it feels like it doesn't really spend enough time on the payoff for those things. Like there's already so much set up for what's going to happen in season 4, and I can barely remember what has already happened or whether plot threads have been tied up or not. And maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm not following it as well as it should, but it feels like that doesn't fit the theme or the tone of the show in the right way. I'm not sure. I find it a little bit just the plot just isn't quite neat enough. I don't think. I think that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I think sort of that's probably partly why you feel disappointed. Is I think when we were talking about it, we had sort of predicted it to be even better than the first 2 series because there was such a marked improvement between series 1 and series 2.
Yeah,
that I think it had a decent weight of expectation to be even better. But do you at least feel like you will watch series 4 even if you aren't as excited for it?
I think I will, yeah. I think maybe the reason now that we're talking about it, I think maybe season 1 and season 2, they did have a lot of cliffhangers and open-ended questions, and I felt like, oh, it's coming to a head now. Season 3 is going to tie all of these unanswered questions together, and they're all going to be connected somehow. But it feels like through season 3, it's answered some questions and then opened up some more things that I'm not sure that everything actually is connected. And I think it may just be opening up new plots sort of around the place. Maybe season 4 will tie everything together and it'll be amazing and blow my mind, and that would be lovely. But I think I was expecting season 3 for it to all come to a head, and it didn't. It sort of felt like a bit of a placeholder season, maybe. There was some nice character development, actually. I did like that, but it felt like they were holding off until the big season to happen, which I don't like when, whether it's movies or TV shows, I don't like when they do that, when they sort of think, okay, we'll not, this is a bit crude, but I can't think of a better term, for lack of a better term, blow our load on this season. We'll hold off so the payoff is bigger. And I think that never really works for me. I think when you have a good idea, use it rather than trying to make the payoff bigger. I think that's not really a smart way to make TV.
I think it's usually a good idea to bookend the series with someone, even if you want to set up the next series, bookend it with something. I mean, probably not in this series because it's got the story can be a little bit dark at times, but it's mostly a light-hearted in tone. I mean, a lot of shows will finish the series with a character death.
Yeah.
But I think everything aside, it's good to have like a proper story-driven animated show.
That is true.
I mean, most animated shows, at the moment are purely episodic. There's no overarching themes connecting it. I think it is good to have a narrative-driven one. Yeah.
No, I mean, I still enjoyed it, and I did watch it all, so I'm kind of taking a bit of a dump on it for no reason. But yeah, I think I maybe just was expecting to love it. I wasn't hooked on it as much as the first 2 seasons. I think that's the main difference. But listen, we'll see. We'll see what happens. C'est la vie. But that is about us, I think, for this episode. Quite a long one, I think. I had a lot of fun. Luke, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. If you want to get in touch with the show, we now have some socials. Now that we've finally established ourselves, suggestions, anything, you can email us at cracandbanterpod@gmail.com. No capitals, no underscores, anything like that. cracandbanterpod@gmail.com, and we'll see your inputs. If it was nerd, going straight in the bin. But anything else,
Fan
we
art
will
is
read.
welcome. Hentai is not.
Yes.
Well, it's not like bigger podcasts where they're overburdened with fan mail. If you send something, we will read it.
I wouldn't worry about your email getting lost in the emails that we get sent. I imagine we'll see it. And of course, we are by no means the authority on these topics. So if you have a different opinion and you want to send it in, we'd love to read it and sort of see a new perspective. So feel free to write in and get in touch. As I said, Twitter and Instagram, you can get us there as well, and leave a comment or a follow. Tell a friend, share the podcast. We love sharing with more people. So the more people we get involved, the better, you know. So feel free to share it around. And thank you all for listening. Thank you, Luke.
Thank you for having me.
And we will see you all next week. Goodbye.
Bye.